All right, let's dive in. Today, we're exploring this fascinating document called Timeless Triumphs.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, it's packed with stories of people who did incredible things, like way later in life.
Really amazing stuff.
Yeah, proving that it's, never too late to make a difference.
Right.
We're talking artists, leaders, even athletes, all showing that age really is just a number.
Hmm. It really makes you rethink the whole idea of success, doesn't it?
Totally. We tend to think of, like, achievement being tied to youth, but these folks prove that experience and wisdom and just not giving up, that's powerful stuff.
Absolutely. And that's what makes these stories so inspiring. They show that it's never too late to achieve something amazing, even if you haven't found your thing yet or you hit some roadblocks along the way.
Exactly. And a perfect example of that, Moses.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, we all know the story, right?
Right.
Leading the Israelites out of Egypt, parting the Red Sea, the whole deal.
Right.
But here's the thing. He didn't even start that journey until he was 80 years old.
80? Can you imagine?
I know. Talk about a late bloomer.
It makes you think about all the changes he must have gone through, from being a prince in Egypt to living as a shepherd.
Yeah.
And then finally accepting this huge responsibility, this calling.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what always gets me? That story of the burning bush.
Yeah.
And God speaks to him. And Moses is like, whoa, hold on. Are you sure you got the right guy? I mean, who hasn't felt that way, right?
Yeah.
Doubting yourself, wondering if you're really up to the task.
Oh, totally. I think we all have those moments. But it's what we do with those doubts that matters.
For sure. And Moses, he pushed through those doubts, and man, he faced some serious resistance. Those plagues of Egypt, talk about obstacles.
Yeah.
But he just kept going, kept fighting for what he believed in.
It's almost like those setbacks, those detours, they shape you, prepare you for something bigger down the road.
Totally. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit, talk about another giant of history, Michelangelo. Everyone knows the Sistine Chapel ceiling, right? That breathtaking masterpiece. But here's the thing. He painted that massive, incredibly detailed work when he was over 70 years old.
70. And think about how physically demanding that must have been.
I know, we're talking scaffolding, reaching up, painting for hours on end. And this is a guy already famous for his sculptures, which are no walk in the park either.
It's mind-blowing. And it wasn't just the Sistine Chapel either. He was working on St. Peter's Basilica around the same time. The guy was a creative machine.
I know, right? And the sources mention he was dealing with eye problems, too. Like, his vision wasn't great, but did he stop? Nope. He just kept going, kept creating.
It makes you wonder, how did his art change as he got older? Did his, understanding of beauty, of the human form, did it change?
Oh, that's a great question. And it makes me think about another figure, someone whose experience really became an asset, Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
I mean, we know him as the inventor, the scientist, all that. But he was also 81 years old when he played a key role in drafting the U.S. Constitution.
Wow. So he was there in the room, shaping the future of a nation at 81.
Yeah. And, they call him the conciliator of the Constitutional Convention. Think about it. A bunch of strong personalities arguing about how this new country should be run.
Sounds intense.
Totally. And there's Franklin, with all his life experience, helping to calm things down, bring people together.
Makes sense. I mean, he'd seen revolutions, scientific breakthroughs, all sorts of things.
Exactly. That kind of experience informs everything you do. Okay, now for a story that just screams late bloomer. Grandma Moses, the painter.
Oh, yeah. Her work is so charming, so heartwarming.
I know, right? But get this. She didn't start painting until she was 70 years old.
Seriously. 70. That's amazing.
It is. And the crazy thing is, she was discovered by chance. Someone just happened to see her paintings and was like, whoa, this is incredible. But what really resonated with people, was her style, capturing those simple scenes of rural life.
Yeah, there's such a sense of nostalgia in her work, a warmth that just draws you in.
Totally. It makes you think, right? What talents might we have hidden inside, just waiting to be discovered?
Maybe we just need to give ourselves permission to try new things, even if we think it's too late.
And, sometimes it's not about discovering new talent, but about rising to a challenge when you least expect it. Which brings us to Winston Churchill.
Ah, yes. The iconic wartime leader.
He was in his late 60s when World War II started and led Britain well into his 70s.
That's incredible. Imagine the pressure he was under, leading a nation through such a dark time.
I know, right? But he never wavered. And the sources really highlight his leadership during the Battle of Britain, when invasion seemed imminent. His speeches, especially that their finest hour one, They were so powerful, they rallied the entire nation.
He didn't just lead with strategy. He led with, like, inspiration, with this unwavering belief that they could overcome anything.
It really shows that experience, that depth of understanding, it can be such a strength.
Yeah, and that even when you feel like you're past your prime, you can still rise to the occasion, you know? Use what you've learned to make a difference.
Okay, so let's switch gears again. Now we're talking about someone whose life story became her art. Harriet Doerr.
Oh, interesting.
She published her award-winning novel, Stones for Ibarra, when she was 74.
Wow. That's incredible.
I know, and what's fascinating is the book explores these themes of cultural clashes, loss, searching for meaning, things that we often grapple with more as we get older. It's like all those years of living, observing, they poured into this incredible book.
It's a reminder that our experiences, even the tough ones, can be transformed into something beautiful and meaningful.
Absolutely. And sometimes they can inspire entire industries. Which brings us to a figure everyone knows, but maybe not the whole story, Colonel Sanders, the face of KFC. Yeah.
Of course.
But did you know he didn't start that fast food empire until he was in his 60s?
Really? I had no idea.
After facing setbacks earlier in life, he hit the road with his pressure cooker and that secret recipe, determined to make his dream happen. Imagine that. In his 60s, going town to town, knocking on doors, trying to convince people to try his chicken.
That's amazing. Talk about believing in your product.
It's like entrepreneurial spirit doesn't have an age limit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a lifetime of, ups and downs to build that resilience, that resourcefulness, to really go for it.
And speaking of resilience, we have to talk about Nelson Mandela. His name is synonymous with, like, the fight for justice, for equality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And think about this. He became South Africa's first black president at the age of 76.
Wow. After all those years of struggle, of imprisonment, that's incredible.
It's a story of, ultimate triumph, of never giving up hope, even when the odds seem impossible.
Yeah, and his leadership wasn't just about politics. It was about healing a nation, about forgiveness, reconciliation, these qualities that, often come with a deeper understanding of life, of human nature.
Okay, last one for this part of our deep dive, and it's a story that's close to many hearts. Laura Ingalls Wilder.
The Little House books. I loved those as a kid.
Me too. And she published the first one when she was 65.
Wow, so all those stories about pioneer life, they came from her own experiences.
Exactly. She didn't just write for herself, she preserved a piece of history. And it makes you think about the stories we all carry inside.
Yeah, what if we all had the courage to share those stories, to share our perspectives?
Exactly. Maybe we all have our own little house waiting to be written.
And maybe that's what these timeless triumphs are really about, reminding us that we all have something to offer, regardless of our age.
Well said.
It's just amazing, how these folks just blew past expectations. Age didn't hold them back one bit.
You got that right. Speaking of defying expectations, let's talk about Ronald Reagan, a president who took office at 69. Imagine that. Led the U.S. through some major changes, served 2 terms, and handled all those global challenges. And you know what? He was in his 70s for most of it.
Reagan's story is a great example of how your experiences, even if they're not typical, can help you be a great leader. Like, his background was acting and running California. Not your usual path to the White House, right? But it clearly helped him be a strong communicator and a smooth diplomat.
Yep. They used to call him the great communicator. He had this knack for explaining complicated things in a way that everyone got, and he was so charismatic. Really important back then, because it was a time when people were feeling a bit unsure about things. He brought back a sense of optimism, a feeling that we're all in this together.
It's like, who says you have to follow the same old path to be a leader? Reagan's story shows that all sorts of experiences, even those that seem totally unrelated, can actually make you a better leader.
Okay, ready for a story about incredible athletic achievement later in life? Let's talk about Diana Nyad. This woman did the unbelievable. She swam from Cuba to Florida at 64.
You're kidding. That's over 100 miles. Through open ocean. Wow.
I know, right? We're talking strong currents, sharks, the works.
What really stands out to me about Nyad is her, never give up attitude. She tried to swim a bunch of times, and every time she had to deal with setbacks and physical challenges. But she never quit. She kept tweaking her training, her strategy, and finally, on her 5th attempt, she made it.
The sources talk about her incredible resilience, both mental and physical. Think about it, swimming for over 50 hours straight, Exhaustion, jellyfish stings, the sheer mental pressure of it all. She pushed through it all.
It's more than just athleticism, you know? It's about the human spirit, its ability to beat the odds and do things we never thought possible.
So inspiring. Makes you realize we should never underestimate what we can do no matter how old we are.
Okay, how about this? Running a marathon at 100 years old. Meet Falja Singh. They call him the Turban Tornado.
A marathon at 100. No way.
Yes way. He became the oldest person to ever finish a marathon. And get this, he didn't get serious about running until he was 81 after going through some really tough personal stuff. Running became his way to cope, his way to find strength and purpose. That's so powerful, finding something you love, something that challenges you, and just going for it.
And the best part? He ran with a smile on his face, inspiring people everywhere with his positive attitude.
It shows that it's never too late to find something that brings you joy, something that keeps you going, both physically and mentally. And it reminds us that it's good for us no matter our age.
Okay, now for an author who found success later in life, Frank McCourt. He wrote his award-winning memoir, Angela's Ashes, when he was 66.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's about his childhood, right?
Exactly, and it's so moving, so captivating. People all over the world connected with his story.
It's like proof that everyone's story matters. The things we go through, even way back in our childhoods, they can hold truths that resonate with others.
And his memoir wasn't just about him. It reflected bigger issues like poverty, resilience, the importance of family, and how even when things are tough, you can still find moments of beauty. Speaking of grace and resilience, let's talk about Tao Porkin Lynch. This woman just radiated energy and totally defied stereotypes about getting older. She did yoga into her 90s and was a fantastic ballroom dancer too, just like full of life.
That's awesome. She sounds amazing.
She believed that your age is just a number. She said that your body can do amazing things as long as you pay attention to it and take care of it.
Makes sense. If you keep moving, keep your mind active, it's got to help you stay healthy and live longer.
Exactly. It's like a reminder to find activities that make us happy, that challenge us, that keep us connected to our bodies. Okay, let's talk about J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings. Talk about lifelong passion.
Oh yeah, those books are classics.
And guess what? He published the first book in that series when he was 62.
Wow, that's incredible. To create such a detailed world with its own languages and history at that age.
I know. And it's just to show you that creativity doesn't have an expiration date. Your imagination, your desire to create, they can actually get stronger as you get older.
And, it's probably fueled by all those experiences, all that knowledge you gather over a lifetime.
Okay, here's a story of heroism that went largely unnoticed for years. Irina Sendler, recognized in her 90s for her bravery during World War II.
What did she do?
She risked her life to save Jewish children during the Holocaust, smuggled them out of the Warsaw Ghetto, found them safe homes, and kept meticulous records so they could be reunited with their families someday.
Wow. Just wow. The courage it must have taken.
I know, right? To face that kind of danger, to care for those vulnerable children, it's just incredible.
Her story's a reminder that there are heroes all around us doing amazing things, even if we never hear about them.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift to the art world and talk about Claude Monet, the Impressionist master.
Oh, I love his paintings.
He kept creating amazing artwork even as he got older. Some of his most famous paintings, those incredible water lilies and landscapes, he did those in his 70s.
That's amazing. And you know what else is remarkable? He did all this while his vision was getting worse. He had cataracts, but that didn't stop him.
He adapted, experimented with different techniques, and his art evolved. It became even more expressive. It's like he turned a challenge into an opportunity to grow as an artist.
It's a reminder that we can adapt to changes, find new ways to express ourselves, and keep pursuing our passions even when things get tough.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth. We all know that part of his story. But get this, he went back into space at 77.
Wait, seriously? He went back to space in his late 70s? That's unbelievable.
And it wasn't just for show. It was a scientific mission. He was part of experiments studying how spaceflight affects aging.
So he wasn't just an astronaut, he was a pioneer in understanding how we age in space.
Wow. Think about the preparation, the physical and mental toughness it took to go back to space at that age.
It's a testament to his dedication to science, his willingness to push himself, and his belief in the power of exploration.
Okay, switching gears again, let's talk about Martha Graham, a legend in modern dance. This woman continued to create groundbreaking dances well into her 90s.
90s? That's amazing. I can barely imagine having that kind of energy and creativity at that age.
And she wasn't just content with what she'd already done. She kept pushing the boundaries of dance, finding new ways to express things. And she mentored tons of dancers, sharing her knowledge and passion.
It's like you can keep growing, keep learning, and inspiring others your whole life. There's no age limit on that.
Right. Okay, how about this? Nola Ox graduated from college at 95.
You're kidding, 95. What inspired her to do that?
She always wanted to finish her degree, but life got in the way. Raising a family, working on the farm.
Yeah.
But she never let go of that dream.
It's never too late, right? I bet she was a star student.
I know. It's inspiring to see someone embrace new challenges no matter their age. And speaking of new challenges, meet Mary Wesley. She didn't get her big break as a writer until she was 70.
70? That's amazing.
Her first novel was published when she was 70, and she didn't shy away from tough topics. Her books often had a sharp wit, a little bit of controversy even. Shows you that age doesn't have to make you less bold, less willing to tackle difficult issues.
It's like all those years of living, observing, it all came together in her writing.
Okay, let's talk about the guy who gave us the writer's best friend, Peter Roget, the creator of Roget's Thesaurus.
Oh, yeah. Every writer's got to have that.
He put together that massive work when he was 73.
Wow. 73. He must have loved words.
He was fascinated by them. And he wanted to help people communicate better, more effectively. What a gift to the world, right?
Okay. Ready for another incredible athletic achievement later in life? Gladys Burrell, nicknamed the Gladiator.
Okay. I like her already. What does she do?
She ran a marathon at 92.
92? That's amazing.
It's a reminder that staying active, challenging yourself physically, can really help you live a longer, healthier life. No excuses. It's never too late.
Okay, I'm ready for another challenge. Who else pushed the limits? How about Yukiro Miura, a mountain climber who climbed Mount Everest at 80?
Mount Everest? At 80? That's insane.
He was already a legend, having skied down part of Everest when he was younger. But climbing it at 80, that's pure determination.
It's like you don't have to let go of your passions as you get older. In fact, with the right mindset, the right preparation, you can achieve incredible things no matter your age.
Let's talk about Paul Cézanne, a painter who kept innovating and creating amazing art, even in his later years. He was a post-impressionist. And his work is really interesting because it shows how an artist's vision can change over time.
How so?
He didn't become super famous until he was older. But his dedication, his willingness to experiment, it led to new art movements, like Cubism.
Wow, so he was really ahead of his time.
Exactly. And his story tells us that artistic growth is a lifelong thing. Never too late to find new ways to express yourself, to push the boundaries. Speaking of pushing boundaries in amazing architecture, let's talk about Oscar Niemeyer. He was a Brazilian architect, famous for these futuristic designs. And get this, he kept designing buildings past 100.
Past 100? Are you serious? That's incredible.
I know. Imagine the creative energy, the passion for design, to keep making such innovative buildings at that age.
It's like as long as you're curious and engaged, there's no limit to what you can do.
Let's talk about Elizabeth Cady Stanton, a pioneer in the fight for women's rights in the U.S. She was active in the movement well into her 80s, advocating for women's right to vote and for equality, even when people criticized her, opposed her, or tried to stop her.
That takes a lot of guts, to keep fighting for what you believe in, even when it's tough, and especially at that age.
Her dedication is a reminder that you can make a difference at any age, that fighting for a fairer, more just world is a lifelong mission. And sometimes that fight takes incredible strength and resilience, even when you're facing your own personal struggles. Let's talk about Georgia O'Keeffe.
Oh yeah, the painter, right. Her flower paintings are amazing.
She's known for those, and for her paintings of skulls and southwestern landscapes. And here's the thing, she kept painting even after she started losing her vision later in life.
Wow. That must have been incredibly difficult.
It was, but she didn't let it stop her. She adapted her techniques, found new ways to express her vision.
What an inspiration. She shows us that even when we face obstacles, even when things seem impossible, we can adapt, find new ways to do the things we love.
And speaking of doing what you love, let's talk about Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense. He directed those amazing, influential films well into his 70s, always experimenting, pushing the boundaries of storytelling.
It's amazing how he kept making such iconic and innovative films at that stage in his career. Like, he was a master of his craft, and he never stopped honing it.
Okay, last one for this part. It's a big one. Mahatma Gandhi. The leader of India's independence movement, he achieved some of his most important victories in his 60s and 70s. He advocated for peaceful resistance, fought for social justice, led marches, was imprisoned, and inspired millions with his message of peace and equality.
What incredible legacy. He really changed the world.
And finally, let's talk about John Adams, one of the founding fathers of the United States and a brilliant thinker. He was in his 70s and 80s when he was still writing essays, letters, and even an autobiography.
Wow, he really believed in using his mind right up until the end.
Exactly. His dedication to learning, to sharing his knowledge, it reminds us that we can keep growing and contributing our whole lives. So before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let's just take a minute to think about all these incredible stories, these timeless triumphs.
It's really powerful stuff. I mean, they show us that age doesn't have to limit us, that we can achieve great things, make a real difference, no matter how old we are. It's all about passion, perseverance, and being open to new challenges.
I love that. It's like we've been given permission to dream big, to never stop learning, to keep exploring what we can do. It's never too late.
It's amazing, right? All these incredible achievements, all these folks proving that age is just a number. But we're not done yet. We've got a few more inspiring stories to share before we wrap things up. So let's start with Sophia Loren.
Oh, yeah, the Italian actress.
The one and only. I mean, she's a legend, no doubt. But what's really remarkable is that she came back to acting in her 70s. It's like she reminded the world that her talent, her captivating presence, it's timeless.
You know, it really shows that sometimes taking a break, focusing on different parts of your life, it can actually make you even stronger when you come back to your craft.
Totally. It's like she came back with even more depth, even more power in her performances. The sources talk about her role in this movie, The Life Ahead. Directed by her son, no less, she plays this elderly Holocaust survivor who forms a bond with this young immigrant. The critics raved about it, said it was one of her best performances ever. To get that kind of recognition so late in her career, it's amazing and challenges that whole idea that actors have a shelf life, you know?
For sure. Sophia Loren's comeback is like a beacon of hope for anyone who feels like their best work might be behind them. Okay, now let's talk about a woman who dedicated her life to a cause that's maybe even more important today than ever before: peace.
Okay.
Bertha von Suttner, a true pioneer in the peace movement, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And guess what? She kept working for peace well into her 70s. Imagine that, advocating for disarmament, for peaceful solutions, at a time when the world was teetering on the edge of war.
It's so easy to get discouraged when you're fighting for something as big and complex as world peace, you know? But she never gave up.
She was a powerful writer, too. Her novel, Lay Down Your Arms, it was this huge critique of war and militarism.
Wow.
Became a bestseller, influenced so many people, even inspired the creation of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow. Just wow. One book by one woman could have that kind of impact. That's incredible.
I know, right? And think about it. Back then, women's voices weren't really heard the way they are today. She was truly ahead of her time. It just shows you we all have the power to speak up, to fight for what we believe in, no matter who we are, how old we are. So we've explored all these amazing stories, these timeless triumphs, and I'm wondering, what does it all mean? What have we learned from these incredible individuals?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we shouldn't limit ourselves. You know, we tend to think that achievement, that making a real impact, it's all about youth. But these stories show us that that's just not true.
Right. It's almost like we've been given this permission slip to keep dreaming, to never stop learning, to keep pushing ourselves no matter what the calendar says.
Exactly. And it's not like these people were superheroes, you know? They were ordinary folks who chose to live extraordinary lives, which means we can too.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. It's never too late to try something new, to chase that dream you've always had, to use what you've learned to make a difference. Who knows? Your own timeless triumph might be just around the corner.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.